let's introduce our first speaker of tonight. He just spent 21 days in a silent retreat in a monastery. He's also known for being very good at bribing Vietnamese police officers.
Put your hands together to welcome the funny and charismatic Itamar.
Sleepovers. At which point did we stop having them, and why? I have a confession to make. I never did. For some reason, me and my childhood friends who never grew out of the ritual, and while some people might think that's immature, and I kind of get it, you look into Wikipedia, the definition of a sleepover is a slumber pajama party held by kids and teenagers. So I get where they're coming from. But then again, as a counter, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. I have my own definition of a sleepover. I think sleepovers are a great way of deepening your connection with someone for various reasons in a nice, intimate setting. And no, I don't mean the times where you get super wasted and you crash on your friend's sofa, although that can be a fun night as well. And for the kinky ones thinking of one-night stands, not that sort of a sleepover. I think when you actually set an evening and a night aside for a specific person and group of people, and you fill it up with fun activities, and most importantly, with open, vulnerable conversations where you get real. Just like when you were a kid and you talked about your first dreams, crushes, sorrows, and fears. I mean, let's think back at our ancestors, the hunter-gatherers. You think each one of them had their own cave and they slept there by themselves? No, they were having sleepovers. They needed and they wanted that security that you can only get from a group. They were looking on each other's backs. Although that served as a defense mechanism, it also contributed a lot to our psychological well-being. You were part of a collective group. Now, fast forward, and at some point during the course of history, we've decided that it's better to put each one of us in our own individual room, to be there by ourselves, to have a stronger sense of independence. My space, my work, my thoughts, me, me, me. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing per se. I just want to put that in contrast to the way things used to be for a very long time. We've been getting better by the day at fulfilling and meeting our natural physical needs, which is a great thing. Technology, healthcare, life expectancy, education, everything is progressing exponentially. I'm very glad to be alive today. But at the same time, we've been getting less and less good at meeting these deep underlying psychological needs we have. We may not be dying from the smallpox anymore, but nowadays suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst people my age. We have gotten to a point where we have so many mental blocks and social restrictions on showing affection, even though it's one of our greatest needs, to be seen and valued, to know that you're being loved, that you belong, that you're part of a group. And a result of this, there's an epidemic on social isolation and loneliness. Various countries around the world has announced it as a public health threat. Last year, Theresa May appointed the first ever Minister for Loneliness to tackle this problem. And the list for psychiatric and physical disorders this leads to is way too long for me to even begin with. Now, what struck me the most was when I read that fully 54% in the US feels like no one really knows them well. Now, I want you to ask yourself, and be completely honest, do you feel that there's anyone in your life that really knows you? Now ask yourself a second question. Do you think that you really know the people you say are closest to you? Would they agree? Don't get me wrong, you need to be self-dependent, you need to be self-reliant, but you must not get blinded by this. The best things in life, whether it be emotionally, intellectually, or physically, can be only attained with others. That's interdependence. The reality of interdependence is that measurable fact that we are all at the same time singular conscious beings connected to everyone else, everywhere else, all the time. The longest study ever done on happiness, which is actually still ongoing, conducted in Harvard, tells us that the most important factor for your health and your happiness is good, close relationships. You need others. You are interdependent. You're never too old to have a sleepover, to show the people around you that they matter and they do belong. Now, I want you to take your phone out as soon as you have the chance after the show. Choose a loved one. Send them a short love letter. It can be as simple as, I love you. You're really important to me. And for the bold ones out there, I challenge you to invite your dearest ones to have a sleepover.
Buzzing, buzzing in